You've got money, you've got fame, you've got everything that you could possibly want. Why did you feel like you needed dogfighting?
I wasn't fighting for the money. I like the competition part about it.
Michael Vick's fall from grace.
Did you ever break down?
Broke down plenty of times, yeah.
And his fight to get back.
Even in my darkest moments, those are the times when you need to lean on Christ.
The saga of an amazing NFL quarterback, Michael Vick, risen from the ashes. Tremendous testimony. We're going to have an exclusive with that today. And as you can imagine, once again, Republicans are asking, quote, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Were you?
Not really.
Okay. Once again, Democrats have had a hard time coming up with an answer to that question.
Well, the question put President Obama's team on the defensive. But in the end, voters will have the final say. Charlene Israel has the story.
It's the classic question that sunk Jimmy Carter in 1980.
Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
And like Ronald Reagan, presidential candidate Mitt Romney also posed the question to the American people at the Republican National Convention.
This president can ask us to be patient. This president can tell us it was someone else's fault. This president can tell us that the next 4 years he'll get it right. But this president cannot tell us that you're better off today than when he took office.
Top aides to President Obama and supporters struggled to answer the question over the weekend.
Are we where we need to be? No.
We have a lot more work to do.
No, but that's not the question of this election.
Then a complete turnaround.
We are clearly better off as a country.
Absolutely.
America is better off today.
The president took credit for saving the U.S. auto industry at a Union Labor Day celebration in Toledo.
I believed in you, I bet on you, and because of that bet, 3 years later, that bet is paying off for America.
However, in the most recent Associated Press GFK poll, only 28% said they were better off than 4 years ago, while 36% said they were worse off and 36% said they were in about the same financial position. In addition, the Rasmussen Reports daily presidential tracking poll shows Romney attracting support from 48% of voters nationwide, while President Obama earns 44% of the vote. In response to the uncertainty from Obama's aides, Romney's campaign is amping up their efforts to persuade Americans once and for all that Obama's economic record disqualifies him for a second term.
You know there's something wrong with the kind of job he's done as president when the best feeling you had was the day you voted for him.
This week, the president gets his chance to respond. Charlene Israel, CBN News.
Our guys have been tracking Rasmussen, who apparently has a better fix on politics than almost any of the pollsters. And Rasmussen is showing Romney moving ahead rather substantially. And in the key areas of voter concern, Romney's coming out ahead, but we'll see. The election's coming closer and closer and closer. Lee Webb has more of our top stories from the CBN Newsroom. Lee?
Pat, First Lady Michelle Obama takes the stage at the Democratic National Convention tonight. She will make the case for another 4 years in office for her husband. Mrs. Obama is also trying to shore up support among key voting blocs. She will speak to the party's African American, Hispanic, and women's caucuses. She will also address a gay and lesbian luncheon. Meanwhile, Democrats are voting to adopt their party platform today. It calls for higher taxes on wealthier Americans, and it backs same-sex marriage and abortion. Many events are planned at the Democratic Convention, and the most controversial may be a prayer rally held by Muslims. CBN's Jennifer Wishon explains.
Juma, or Friday Muslim prayers at the DNC. Organizers promoted 20,000 would attend. Instead, several hundred Muslims, men in the front, women at the bottom of the hill, gathered to pray at a Charlotte park in advance of the Democratic National Convention.
It's important to me to show that I am a Muslim like everybody else live in this great country. The Christian, Jewish, atheist, anything, to show that who I am. It's my identity as a Muslim.
The message delivered by Imam Siraj Wahhaj focused on his belief that Muslims have much in common with Christians and Jews. If they knew how much we love Jesus, he preached, they wouldn't criticize.
People were beating a prophet.
He told the Muslim faithful that their numbers in America are growing and predicted that New York City would soon have a Muslim mayor.
The event raised concerns in Charlotte and across the country, not because of the public display of prayer, but because of the Muslim leaders behind it.
This event is being organized by not moderate, peace-loving, pro-American Muslims. The organizers of this event are on record praising Islamic Sharia law, placing Sharia above the U.S. Constitution, placing their loyalty to Islam above their loyalty to America. This is a troubling thing for the DNC to kind of get in bed with this kind of element of the Muslim community.
I'm not going to sit here and say that there are not maybe a handful of Muslims who have that vision, but I do not seek to do that. And not any Muslims that I know or that I'm aware of are seeking to do that. We're seeking to make the Constitution work. I don't think that would be a wise move. I don't think it's not necessary. If the Constitution didn't work, there might be a need to do something else. But the Constitution is working, and sometimes it doesn't work the way we see fit, and we have to work more. We have to get more involved in the political system.
A handful of Christian activists held signs on the edge of the park. After the Muslim prayers ended, one man preached the gospel.
Forgive them, they know not what they do.
To me, this here is an abomination. We would never disrespect them like this. Muslims don't go and try to prevent other faiths from having, and then why you do this to Muslims?
Although the Juma was associated with the DNC, Huff says Muslims are diverse in their political views. He supports Ron Paul. The Muslims who attended the Juma made it clear they're not trying to push their faith or way of life on anyone, but say Americans should expect to see displays like this more often.
The time of isolation and the time of keeping Muslims on the side or denying who we are is past.
Jennifer Wishine, CBN News, reporting from the Democratic National Convention in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Pat, what do you think?
Well, I think that's really not a news story. I question whether we should have given it that much time, but I wish those guys would read the papers. There's a woman who's going to be executed in Pakistan because allegedly she defamed the Prophet Muhammad, and they're not even sure what she said. There's somebody else that they want to put in prison for life because of desecrating the Quran, like taking 1 page or 2 pages out of the Quran. Again, they aren't sure about it, but this is Pakistan. Over in Saudi Arabia, they cut the hands off thieves, they behead people convicted of adultery, and if anybody says anything unkind about Islam, they will execute them. They don't talk to me about the Constitution of the United States and freedom and love and peace and all that nonsense. I mean, this is just a smokescreen. Read what's going on around the world and what Muslims do in the name of Sharia. We don't want that here in the United States of America. Lee?
Well, Christians in Charlotte are also turning to prayer for the church and for America. And John Jessup has that story.
Before the official DNC kickoff,
somebody say, praise God!
This community of Charlotte Christians joined together toward one goal, to repent and to ask God to raise up the church.
Our moral and spiritual decline in America is a direct result of the light hiding under a bushel and the salt sitting in the salt shaker.
The call to prayer served as the culmination of a 40-day fast and months of prayer meetings for the world, for the nation, but mostly for the city's churches.
Before we look at the problems in the United States, let's take a look on the inside and see what it is in us that needs to be changed by the Lord.
Charlotte has been termed the Queen City, and we just came to dare and believe that once again that the Queen City would remarry her king with violent love and covenant.
Local pastors partnered with other churches to proclaim salvation and healing through Christ, not political candidates.
We believe that getting the White House right will not fix America, but we must first get the church house right.
They say while it's wrong to put Jesus in a box or political party, that doesn't mean Christians should stay out of the process.
as Christians, we're supposed to approach the ballot box saying, in what way does my vote honor the Scripture the most?
The prayer gathering, Charlotte 714, took its name from this Old Testament passage. If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Worship leader John Waller said he was writing a song based on that verse when he learned about the event.
God had put 2 Chronicles 7:14 just on my heart, and then I got the call from David Benham, and that was a major confirmation.
Others said they also received confirmation.
I know that God is real, and I know that when He sees us coming together, black, white, doesn't matter who you are, now He can do something because we're taking our position in Him.
What do you hope will develop from here?
Oh, spiritual awakening. We desperately need it in our country. We need it in Charlotte. We need it in our churches, that more and more people will come to know Christ.
The estimates for this crowd are somewhere between 4,000 to 6,000 people made up of 80 to 100 different churches and 50 ministries in and around the Charlotte area. The prayer gathering was simulcast online, and organizers hope to replicate it in cities across the country. There's already talk that Atlanta may be next. John Jessup, CBN News, at the Verizon Wireless Amphitheater in Charlotte.
Tens of thousands of people in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas are still in the dark nearly a week after Hurricane Isaac. Some low-lying areas are still flooded. Water reached 2 feet high in some places. Operation Blessing's disaster relief teams have been on location since Isaac made landfall. They're providing residents with daily hot meals and nailing tarps on roofs to protect homes from further damage. And they're helping families just simply clean up the mess. Pat, back to you.
Well, we're doing what we can. Once again, that low-lying area around New Orleans is just terribly vulnerable to any kind of strikes. They spent a substantial amount of money building up the levees, and many of the levees held, but nevertheless, there were some that just, that area is too low. You know, we have some wonderful friends in New Orleans, and it's a fun city to go to, and the food's delicious, but I declare I think New Orleans should be kept like Williamsburg, Virginia, like a special colonial city, and they ought to move the main district to a little bit higher ground.
At least back away from the coastline a little bit.
They've got to.
It's such a great city, but you know, this could happen every year.
On and on, and the suffering is tremendous. And I think a lot of people have fled New Orleans, but it's, as I say, it's a delightful place to go to eat if you like to eat. Okay, well, here's what we're doing down there, by the way. We have cleanup, we have tools, we have a mobile kitchen, and we're feeding thousands of meals every day down there. And, you know, we stay around with Operation Blessing. The storm leaves, the TV crews go away, but we're there. We work tremendously to help those people in New Orleans, and they know we love them, and we still profess that love for those people. But if you want to help, telephone number is 1-800-759-0700, or you can log into Disaster Relief Fund CBN. Terry.
Well, coming up in this tight election season, candidates will be fighting for every single vote. But in one part of the country, some Democrats are saying that the president has already lost theirs.
I am a registered Democrat, but I'm against Barack Obama.
I wanted to vote against President Obama in order to send that message that we need change.
Find out why these voters say they're being driven away from their party. That's next.
You know him as either a football player or a felon, but you've never seen Michael Vick like this.
I didn't cry because I lost money. I cried because I lost my family.
His story, later on today's 700 Club.
Imagine
Waking up, going to the mirror, and seeing yourself the way you looked years ago.
Wrinkles, frown lines, and sagging skin around your eyes, on your face, and neck can make you look old. Now, Lifestyle Lift makes it possible to look years younger, giving you a natural result that lasts.
I am amazed at the difference a Lifestyle Lift makes.
Call now for your free guide to looking younger. It's that easy with Lifestyle Lift.
Friends, Pat Boone here with an important message from Swiss America. The world's money system is very unstable now, sending the price of food, gasoline, education, healthcare, almost everything higher and higher. You know, I can remember when a cup of coffee was just 5 cents. You remember that, don't you? Today, it costs $5 for the same cup of coffee. I also remember when $20 could buy this ounce of gold. Today, it costs nearly 100 times more for the same ounce of gold. Some say gold is an ancient relic, too old-fashioned to be money anymore. Well, guess what? Now it's paper money that's seen better days. So don't put your family or your future in jeopardy. Convert your paper into gold. Call the professionals, my trusted friends at Swiss America, while you still have time. Protect your standard of living from a rising cost of living with a gold standard.
Wednesday. It's just as bad as smoking, and it's something the average American does 9 hours a day. Find out what it is and why it's comfortably killing you. Plus,
a lot of things I still don't get.
It may not take a village to raise a child, but it takes a mother to raise a son. Dr. Kevin Lehman talks about what every mother needs to tell her son. Wednesday on the 700 Club.
Well, it's the day after Labor Day, and theoretically, Americans are going back to work. Kids are back in school, football season is underway, and all kinds of interesting things are happening. But imagine that you can't enjoy time with your family because you're worried you might be laid off from your job. Well, that's reality for people who live in coal country. And the battle over energy and jobs is going to decide how many of them will vote this November. Mark Martin traveled to West Virginia with this story.
And enough's enough. We want change. We're going to have change. We're going to have change in November.
It's the rallying cries spreading throughout coal country.
I am a registered Democrat, but I am for coal. And by that being said, I'm against Barack Obama.
In 2008, President Obama won the vote of coal-producing states. This November, voters in coal country say all party ties are being set aside.
You're looking out over Mingo County, West Virginia, what many call the heart of the President Obama resistance movement. Residents here say it's not about Republicans or Democrats, it's about coal.
President Obama's defeat in Mingo County during this year's Democratic primaries made headlines. Keith Judd, a candidate labeled as an unknown, walked away with 61% of the vote.
I don't know who this guy is. I know that he probably doesn't have a chance of earning an electoral vote in the state of West Virginia. I wasn't even sure that he was on ballots in other states. But I wanted to vote against President Obama in order to send that message that we need change.
Then the world learned Keith Judd was a convicted felon in Texas serving time for extortion. While the defeat in Mingo County was only a small loss, it sent a big message. Several swing states depend on coal production. Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney hopes his support of coal may tip those states in his favor.
We have 250 years of coal. Why in the heck wouldn't we use it?
He criticizes new green regulations that put a strain on the coal industry.
He's for all the sources of energy that come from above the ground. None of those that come from below the ground, like oil and coal and gas.
President Obama says it's time to make an energy strategy for the future, beginning with a foundation of clean energy.
Let's produce more fuel-efficient cars. Let's produce more solar and wind power and other sources of clean, renewable energy.
The president credits these projects for creating thousands of new jobs.
And at a moment when we want to pursue every avenue for job creation It's homegrown energy like wind that's creating good new jobs in states like Iowa.
But as those jobs are added, thousands are being lost in coal country.
You go to your kids' baseball games and people can't enjoy their family time, the time with their kids, because the talk of the whole town is actually about a layoff or about a job shutting down.
And consider these figures. Renewable energy generates only 13% of U.S. electricity. Coal generates 42%. Many in the coal industry point to that gap and wonder why they are given an ultimatum of change your way of doing business or else.
You've got to give people time to come up with the clean coal technology, and the ideas have to be put into place, and you just can't do it overnight. And you can't just replace coal overnight. I mean, if we can put a man on the moon, I know that we can come up with ways to clean coal and come up with clean coal technology that will give us energy independence into the future and make us continue to stay the greatest country this world's ever seen.
New government regulations are getting much of the blame. Mines must meet demanding environmental rules to stay in operation or get new permits. Owners argue they cannot afford to make the necessary changes in the amount of time they're given, resulting in layoffs and closures. As mines shut down, prices increase, making coal power unprofitable and decreasing consumption. The end result? Thousands of jobs lost and skyrocketing electricity prices.
Everything we do depends upon energy. And it's got to be affordable, it's got to be low cost, and it's got to be reliable. And coal-fired electricity is that.
Whatever side of the spectrum you're on, the bottom line is this: no country has ever been successful or ever stayed successful unless they used all the resources they had.
Mark Martin, CBN News, Mingo County, West Virginia.
Those folks are smart over there. Listen to what they're saying, but that coal area is not just confined to West Virginia. It goes into Kentucky. It goes through parts of the Midwest. You find a great deal of coal out in the Rocky Mountain area, and it's an important source of energy. And the Obama administration just says, look, we hate coal, let's shut them all down, and let's put draconian regulations on them. Well, that's not the way to handle it. The other thing we've got in great abundance is natural gas. They seem to be against fracking, and the idea of opening up these tremendous seams of natural gas is just unbelievable. You know, the various shale beds that are there. I mean, we've got enough natural gas to last 100 years or more. Mm-hmm. And all we have to do is convert natural gas into a liquid so it'll run cars. It can run buses and things like that now.
Well, I love the guy who said, surely if we can put a man on the moon, we can come up with some of the ways to utilize
for
this
Obama to say wind power is homegrown energy, give me a break. You know, he controls the wind. Okay, back to what you're really interested in, football.
Yes, that's right.
I am a fan of Virginia's premier football team, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech used to be called VPI, Virginia Politics.
Did you watch the game last night?
Well, I watched until the Georgia Tech team scored a second touchdown. Looked like they were going to win. There was just a few seconds, and I turned off.
Best part.
Well, I tell you what, I had to go to bed. I have to be here looking bright on the television, and lo and behold, with about 20 seconds left to go, Virginia Tech wound up.
It was a great finale.
Scoring. They got a field goal and went into overtime, and then they won. I mean, extraordinary. So it must break.
Maybe that's why I'm a little blurry-eyed.
Did you stay up?
Yeah, I did.
You really?
Absolutely. And glad I did.
Well, you're from Wisconsin, Green Bay. You are a inveterate fan.
This is my family.
I was so discouraged. I thought, oh, no, not another one. I can't stand it.
Well, that's what made it so great. It looked like it wasn't going that direction.
How did they pull it off? They only had
you had to see it. It was amazing.
Yeah?
It was amazing. Yeah.
Threw a long pass and kicked a field goal or something. Got a tie. Oh, well, anyhow.
Coming up.
One of the stars of the Virginia Tech football team was a guy who lives in Petersburg, Virginia, named Michael Vick. He was an outstanding player. And then he went with the Atlanta Falcons, and he was a star down there. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing you know, some people talked him into getting pit bulls to fight each other. Whew. and that started a downward spiral. Well, coming up, football star Michael Vick tells us about his being thrown in jail, prison, and how he hit rock bottom.
Jada at the time was 3.5, and I was behind the glass. She kept telling me to come over the other side of the glass, and I couldn't. It's rough. Yeah, it's rough.
Got our exclusive interview with Pro Bowl quarterback coming up next, so don't go away. You don't want to miss this one.
There's always something going on around here. When most people have gone home, my work's just beginning.
Here's a script for the story on North Korea. All right. Thanks for working on it tonight.
You got it. When news producers spend all day writing their scripts, I spend all evening putting them together so you can watch them the next day. Time is of the essence. There's no time for mistakes. We got to get this on the air. When I leave at the end of the night, I always feel great that I put together a story from a Christian perspective. My name is Gus. I'm a news editor. I work at CBN.
If you're taking pills for type 2 diabetes and you're still not getting the control you want, call now or visit controlispossible.com. You have a chance to help control your blood sugar for yourself and for those who depend on you most. With your free Chance at Control kit, you'll get facts about insulin and how it can lower blood sugar, a meal planning guide that makes sense of food labels, serving sizes, and shows how you can still enjoy the foods you love, an award-winning app to access nutritional information and find restaurants, plus a blood sugar diary to help track your levels and progress. Don't put off calling. Find out more about adding insulin to your type 2 diabetes treatment for yourself and for them. Call now or visit controlispossible.com for your Chance at Control kit. It will give you better understanding on insulin and how it can lower blood sugar. Call now or visit controlispossible.com.
This is it, Nutrisystem's annual half price sale. We're slashing prices 50% off our everyday low prices.
Has your diet program worked for you? Only time can tell.
Order now and get 4 chef-inspired meals a day. There's never been a better time to get on Nutrisystem. Our half-price sale means big savings for everyone. So hurry. At 50% off, this sale won't last long. And this time, you can do it and taste success. Perfectly portioned meals delivered directly to you. Choose the foods you love most and still lose weight. We guarantee it. You've tried and tried. It's time to succeed. And we'll meet you halfway by giving you half off your first month of food.
Nutrisystem is foolproof. There's no counting, no measuring, no weighing in. I mean, who has time for that? I lost 50 pounds on Nutrisystem.
See how rewarding weight loss can be. No more excuses. Get on a program that works. Get half off your first month. Call now.
Like us on Facebook to get daily updates, behind-the-scenes content, and connect with other 700 Club followers and the CBN prayer team.
To see this week's top on-demand videos, go to cbn.com.
Football, pro football, big bucks pro football. And over the course of his career, Michael Vick has had his face plastered on magazine covers and video games. He's a man who signed a $130 million contract, even before he threw a pass in the NFL. Michael Vick revolutionized the game, and he nearly threw it all away by gambling a couple $1,000s on a dogfighting ring. Recently, Michael told sports reporter Sean Brown about when things went wrong and how he's trying to make it right.
You know, I didn't cry because I lost money. You know, I didn't cry because I lost the cars and I lost the fame and the fortune. I cried because I lost my family.
Michael Vick, one of the most exhilarating athletes on any playing field. In his first 6 seasons in the NFL, he became a nightmare for defenses. He could either pick them apart through the air or on the ground. The
Four-time Pro Bowler established himself as the fastest quarterback to ever play the game. But just before the 2007 season, Michael came to a chapter in his life that forced him to lean on the childhood faith he'd been running from for years.
I grew up in downtown Newport News, and that was the roughest part, the eastern area. And it was rough out there. A lot of turmoil, a lot of violence. But it kind of shaped and molded me into the person that I've become.
Michael lived in the Ridley Circle housing projects, where for a kid, gangs, drugs, and pit bulls were just white noise.
I think it was the summer of 1991, 92. I heard a gunshot every night, every single night throughout the summer.
How did you stay away from all that?
Well, I set a goal when I was young, and my goal was to make it to the NFL. And I didn't know what it was going to take to get there, but I knew being gang affiliated wasn't going to do it.
Even though Michael was focused on football, it was hard to avoid being tempted by the consistent call of the streets. So he leaned on a Bible verse his grandmother gave him.
In Jeremiah 21, I know the plans that I have for you, plans for you to grow, prosper. That was the one that I always felt like, was my life, regardless of what level I was on, whether I was, in elementary school, high school, or in college. That's what I always refer back to. Well, my grandmother always, took us to church. She always, had a Bible on the table, always, got spiritual on us whenever we got out of line. And the more I seen her pray and shout and, thank the Lord, the more I started to thank the Lord and believe that that was the right thing to do. That's when my faith started. That's why I started to develop that belief in God, that you had to have some type of, belief and faith deep down. And you had to have some sort of commitment to the Lord.
So that God's word would stay on his mind, he took it to bed with him.
I was sleeping with the Bible under my pillow because I felt like I needed an edge in whatever way that I could get it. You always heard about the black quarterbacks not being qualified enough to play in the NFL. And, I believed it because I heard it so much. And then, in watching, the NFL, you see that it was predominantly white. And, I just said to myself, that can't be true. I'm going to need some extra help. I'm going to need a certain belief, a certain type of trust. And no man, only God and the Spirit, to get me there. And I felt that way at a young age.
Are you saying that Michael Vick, young Michael Vick, because of all the things that they were saying about African-American quarterbacks, it started to affect you a little bit?
Yeah.
And there were some doubts?
There was doubts, but I leaned on the Lord.
Welcome to Warwick High School, the launching pad that propelled Michael Vick to national notoriety as the quarterback for the Virginia Tech Hokies. Here's a look back at a younger Michael Vick just before he entered the NFL.
God is more important than anything, and I think that He's showing me how to be a leader, how to be calm, how to be a humble person, and respect all the people around me, and respect my opponent.
And you take him with you on the football field?
I take him everywhere with me. He's in here with me right now.
Shortly after that, Michael was selected first overall in the 2001 NFL Draft by the Atlanta Falcons, a chapter in his life that sent him to some of the darkest places he'd ever been.
The transition from college to the NFL is just a different world. You got the world in the palm of your hands. You got money. You got women. You got everything under the sun. You got drugs. You got marijuana. You got whatever you into. Whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you happy. And you just start to feel like you just got to live life.
Did you feel untouchable?
Yeah, in a sense, I felt like I was untouchable. Felt like I said, I felt like I've been blessed. I prayed for it. I prayed about this to happen to me. Pray for success in life. Pray for wealth, and got it all. So what more is it to do? So there was no more sleeping with the Bible under the pillow. There was no more saying my prayers at night. I was going to sleep drunk. you know, going to sleep, you know, high, going to sleep, probably with a different woman beside me every other night and just living a different life.
On the field, Michael's career was soaring on the wings of the Atlanta Falcons. But off the field, with his faith tucked away, this time he didn't resist the call of the street, which led to dogfighting.
You know, my first experience with dogfighting came when I was 8 years old. You know, it took place in rural areas, but sometimes it was out in the public. It was out in open area where people could see. And, you know, we overlooked it.
You've got money, you've got fame, you've got everything that you could possibly want.
Yeah.
You've already got the money.
Yeah.
Why did you feel like you needed dogfighting?
It was something that I gravitated to, and I liked the competition part about it.
So it really wasn't about the money. It was more so the competition.
It wasn't about the money. It was just about the competition. I wasn't fighting for the money. You know, my friends cared more about the money than me.
After 6 seasons with the Falcons, Michael was on top of the football world. But his competitive activities off the field sent him straight to prison.
Let's talk about just that moment of being stripped of everything. When you feel like, when you realize that, man, I've just lost everything.
That was tough. That was a hard pill to swallow. You know, you got to take into consideration everything that you would work for, you know, everything that you've been given. The hardest part is thinking about the good times.
Did you ever break down?
Broke down plenty of times. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a man. I'm a tough guy. You know, I endured a lot. I can endure a lot, but sometimes you get weak. I didn't even cry because I lost my freedom. You know, that wasn't even the hard part. You know, I cried because I lost my family, I lost my loved ones, and I'm family oriented. So that's what got me.
When he went to prison, Michael was engaged to Kiafa and had 3 children, Maitez, Jada, and London.
You know, Maitez, he kind of understood it early, you know, after seeing it on TV and cried and we talked about it. But Jada at the time was 3.5, and I was behind the glass, and she kept telling me, come over the underside of the glass, and I couldn't. It's rough. Yeah, it's rough.
At what point did you have total remorse for your actions in dogfighting?
You know what's so crazy? I always had remorse for my actions and what I was doing. Even in the moment when I was doing it, I always felt like, man, why? You know, why am I even involved in this? And I still think I went to prison because there were certain people that I needed to get away from. So it was bigger than dogfighting. It was bigger than, you know, my situation as a whole. I think it was, you know, it was done to bring awareness to that. It was done to show that regardless of who you are, you know, you will get punished and you're not above the law. And for me, you know, spiritually, you know, don't lose sight of, you know, how you got here. Stay humble.
Michael spent 18 months in prison before he was released in 2009. Naturally, he wanted to make it back to the NFL. But first, he had to make things right with God.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on, you know, how I was going to come back and make it all right. I still prayed. I still felt like having my faith was the best thing that I could have, you know, more so than money or anything else.
In August of 2009, after the Falcons organization released him, Michael was offered a 1-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles as a 3rd stringer. But by the next season, after the trading of Donovan McNabb, Michael became the starter. The true Michael Vick had arrived. He's now in his 10th season in the NFL, and he's been a busy man. He and fiancée Kiafa got married in the offseason, and he's thrust himself into several charitable works through the Team Vick Foundation, as well as working with the Humane Society to help strengthen animal welfare laws. He's also written a book entitled Michael Vick, Finally Free, which chronicles in detail his journey. And he says that this time around, his priorities are in order, and his relationship with God is at the very top.
It's evident that I need a relationship with Jesus Christ. You just look at everything that I've been through. You know, look at my walk, look at, you know, how I've been able to come back, look at what I've been given. You know, even in my darkest moments, those are the times when you need to lean on Christ. Why wouldn't you? Who else are you gonna lean on?
How is Michael Vick different before incarceration and now?
Before I go to sleep now, I make sure I take time to say my prayers. You know, regardless of what type of day I had, regardless of what type of night that I had, you know, I give thanks, you know, throughout the day now. I thank God for the clothing line that I have. I thank God for me being able to wake up and be with my kids and my family and, you know, the blessings that I've been given. So, you know, I'm just following the footsteps that I'm supposed to follow and walking the walk that I'm supposed to walk. You know, so I think I'm favored. I feel like I got to give my blessings. You know, I feel like I got to give my thanks. You know, so, you know, I make sure my priorities are in order. I make sure I walk that walk and, you know, I'm being obedient. Even though I'm not a saint, I don't do everything right. You know, I think it's all in your belief and how strong it is. And I think mine is stronger than most.
Amazing testimony by one of the greatest football players that has ever played the game. He is extraordinary, the fastest back, credible passer, but all that money, $130–40 million, all taken away from him, everything taken away, his freedom taken away, his family taken away, just because of some stupid gambling deal that he got into and he didn't need to. A few little dogs. I mean, it was cruelty, sure. And people wanted to crucify him when it was over with. They just hated him. But he came back because, you see, God is a God of forgiveness. God is a God of a second chance. And I'm so grateful that Michael Vick has gotten a second chance, but he did it by being humble before the Lord, by confessing his sins, and by crying out to God for his mercy. And the same thing will happen to you. Probably the best thing that ever happened to Michael was to have that experience and go to prison. Otherwise, he would have been into that glamorous lifestyle, living immorality, drinking drugs. Who knows what would have been given to him, because everything was available. He had the money. He could ask for anything that his lustful heart desired, and it would be given to him on a silver platter. And God said, no, Michael, I love you too much to let that happen. I love you too much that your soul will be preserved, even though the outer shell is taken away. Now, for some of you right now, you say, look, this guy is a big-time football player. He's one of the greats. But you see what happened to him? You don't want that to happen to you. If you will confess your sin right now, if you will humble yourself before the Lord will show you mercy, and he will forgive your sin. But I ask you right now, if you don't know Jesus, what will happen in the dark day? What will happen in the turbulent times? Michael Vick had his faith to come back on. He got it from his grandmother. I want you to pray with me right now. If you don't know the Lord, these words, Jesus, that's right, say it, Jesus, I come to you humbly. I come to you as a sinner. I come to you needing a Savior. I come to you asking for forgiveness. And now I turn to you and I say, come into my heart. Live your life in me. And from this moment on, I will live for you and I will serve you. Thank you for hearing my prayer. Thank you for coming into my heart. Now, for those who prayed with me just then, if you want to go further, and I know you do, I want to offer something to you. We've had this available for a while, but it's very effective. It tells you what you've just done and what's going to happen next. And it's a little 73-minute CD. You can pop it into your compact disc player and listen to it. It's real easy. But it'll tell you about the exchange life, about being born again, about what happens if anybody's in Christ. He's a new creation. You want this, and I'll give it to you if you just call and say, I prayed with you. I gave my heart to Jesus. Telephone number 1-800-759-0700, or you can log on to cbn.com. And by the way, Michael Vick has written a book, a fabulous story, by the way, about what happened in his life. He's still playing for the Eagles, and I hope he has a good year. But he just puts himself out on the line, and he's subject to a great deal of injury because he doesn't hold back like some quarterbacks do.
Plays hard. Mm-hmm.
Real hard. Michael Vick, Finally Free, an autobiography, forward by Tony Dungy, who helped Michael Vick as a mentor and a friend. This is available wherever books are sold. It's also available on Michael's website, michaelvickstory.com. If you buy it from there, a portion of the proceeds will go toward charities in Philadelphia and Hampton Roads. And by the way, I misspoke. I said he was born in Petersburg. He was born in Newport News. It's just down the road from Petersburg.
That's right, just down the road a piece.
But it's a neighboring city. It's part of our Tidewater area. Great story, Terry.
Well, coming up later, a hurricane rips through a town and forces one family to live in a tent. Hear how they rebuilt their lives for free.
Wouldn't it be great if you could get everything you needed for your small business for free? Like a building for free, a company car for free, your business website built for free? The cost to have your website professionally built can be thousands of dollars, but for a limited time, you can have yours built by the experts at Web.com absolutely free. And that's not all. Web.com will promote your new website in all the major search engines like Google, Yahoo, and Bing. If you're happy with your new website, we'll continue to provide promotion, hosting, support, and maintenance, all for just one low monthly fee. If not, cancel and pay nothing. Call now to get your new site up and running in as little as 7 days free. Over 1 million small businesses rely on Web.com every day. Call now and find out why.
Call 1-855-208-8486 today. That's 1-855-208-8486.
Welcome back to the 700 Club. The conservative documentary 2016, Obama's America, is still showing surprising strength at the box office. The film finished in the top 10 again this week, coming in number 8 over the long Labor Day weekend with an estimated $7 million. It has grossed now more than $20 million, and it's now the 5th highest grossing political documentary ever. Eating organic fruits and vegetables may not be worth the extra money. That's according to a new study conducted by Stanford University. Researchers there say they found very little evidence that going organic is much healthier. They say eating organic food lowers exposure to pesticides, but the amount measured in normal produce was within the safety limits. You can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com. Pat and Terry will be back with more of the 700 Club right after this.
It hindered my ability to walk or run. I had to cancel lessons all the time and cancel all the programs that I had planned. And I saw my career gone. I had never really understood the purpose of money even and what my responsibilities were. And I always thought that we had to have a lot to give. And the more I gave, the more kids would come. I would like to say, you know, it's my great skills or something. It's not. I'm giving to God. I'm obeying. I'm obedient. That's it. I chose CBN because it helped me find a way to help change the world for Christ. My business has grown 5 times what it was in 2005. 5 times that. I think any type of investment or any type of giving is an act of faith. To be honest with you, I can't wait to write the check. It's the best investment that I can imagine. You can't outgive God.
Imagine waking up, going to the mirror, and seeing yourself the way you looked years ago.
Wrinkles, frown lines, and sagging skin around your eyes, on your face, and neck can make you look old. Now, Lifestyle Lift makes it possible to look years younger, giving you a natural result that lasts.
I am amazed at the difference a Lifestyle Lift makes.
Call now for your free guide to looking younger. It's that easy with Lifestyle Lift.
Over the past few years, we've seen some of the worst natural disasters in history. When a hurricane slammed into Mexico's Gulf Coast, Gladys and her family lost everything they owned.
Juan and his wife Gladys don't like to remember the day a hurricane destroyed the family home and bakery business. They've been raising their 2 granddaughters in this temporary tent city ever since.
I wondered how we could start a business again. We lost everything.
Then a team from Operation Blessing Mexico came for a visit. First, they bought the couple a brand new stackable oven, new pans and utensils. Then we delivered a station wagon full of flour and other supplies to get the business started again. Finally, we installed a water purification system that not only serves this family, but everyone in the camp, more than 100 families.
We are so thankful that Operation Blessing came to help us out. They believed in us, that we could be bakers again. Thank you so much to everyone who gave to help us. May God bless you.
Thank you indeed. You are making such a difference in the lives of individuals and families like this, and the lives of communities like this. How does that happen? Well, it happens when people like you and me say, I'm going to join the 700 Club, and together we're all out to change the world and touch people's lives. You can do that today if you haven't joined yet. In fact, we invite you to do it right now. Our number's toll-free. It's on your screen, 1-800-759-0700. It's 65 cents a day, $20 a month to join the 700 Club. Will you do that now? We have so many things that people need around the world, and as Pat mentioned earlier, so much going on down in Louisiana, even down in Haiti. We're still there after the disaster there. We stay when others have left, and we are committed to making a difference. Stand with us. Won't you join the 700 Club? Our way of saying thank you to you for caring about others is to send you Pat's latest teaching. It's called The 3 Blessings. You're going to love this. He talks about the 3 key things that he has consistently asked God for over 50 years of ministry. We want you to have a copy of that. It'll bless you, and you'll be able to bless others with it as well. So call right now. Just say, I'm going to join the 700 Club. 1-800-759-0700. You know, more than 50 years ago, the Christian Broadcasting Network was less than a month away from debuting on TV. There was just one tiny problem. We didn't have the money. And so even before that first broadcast, Pat Robertson gathered together the small CBN staff on Labor Day for a special time of prayer. You know what happened? Soon after, a man delivered a check, and CBN was on the air. And while this company has grown over the years to become an international ministry, we still remember our roots. And so every Labor Day, our entire staff comes together just like we did a half-century ago. We'd like to share with you some highlights from this year's service.
It's the 6th chapter of Numbers. It's the 22nd verse, and the next 3 or 4 verses. And the Lord said to Moses, now you tell Aaron, this is how you are to bless the Israelites. Now, you know, the Latin benedictus, a benediction is to say nice things about somebody. And a blessing is saying something nice about somebody. So when the children of Aaron were pronouncing this blessing, think what they were telling those people. Jehovah bless you and keep you. Jehovah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto merited favor to you. Jehovah turn his face toward you and give you peace. Wow. That's what the world seeks after. This is the blessing. And we're able to minister that peace to people. That's the promise that God has. I will give you peace. And that's why when we say this blessing, we need to understand what we're saying. We're invoking good things over people's lives in the name of the one who causes everything to be.
Well, we love gathering together as the CBN family. We had a time of praise and worship. We ended with communion, and it was a wonderful day.
Yeah.
Wonderful celebration.
That blessing, the Aaronic blessing, people need to take it and analyze it and, you know, break it apart. And I try to do that, but it's so important.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautifully done. Very encouraging.
Amen.
For
Okay.
everybody.
Questions?
Let's answer some email questions, okay? Pat, this is from Kai, who says, Pat, please help. I am 15. My dad tries to bring me to temple. He's a dedicated Buddhist, and he knows that I'm a Christian. I usually try not to go in the temple. I just stay outside, but when there's a special event, I don't have a choice. My dad constantly tells me that I'm being rude and disobedient. When I defend myself, he then turns on me and says, does the Bible say you can disobey your parents? I feel like I'm sinning so much. Is there anywhere in the Bible that says it's a sin to go to temple? I'm torn.
You have the example of Naaman, who was leprous, and God healed him. So he goes back to the prophet and says, I want to thank God. I've got to go back to my master, and I ask that he will forgive me, because when I go into the worship with the king, I have to bow down there because I'm under his authority. But will the Lord please forgive me? And I think the same thing here. The Lord will forgive you. You're a Christian. And in my opinion, your father's authority ceases when he goes against the commandments of God. But nevertheless, remember about Naaman. Read about Naaman and the prophet. And just say, the Lord forgive me when I go into that Buddhist temple. And I've just asked him to cover me. And as I say, don't make a big deal of it, because God knows that this Buddhist thing doesn't mean anything. I mean, it has no spiritual significance, so don't let it
Especially
affect
for Kai, it wouldn't have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
for him. Yeah, all right.
Okay, this is Jennifer, who says, my daughter and the father of her children have been together for about 9 years. They have 4 kids, but consider marriage old-fashioned and unnecessary. When they come to my house, I don't like allowing them to sleep in the same room since they aren't married, but so far I haven't had the gumption to tell them so. Am I wrong to allow them to share a bed under my roof?
After 4 kids, I don't think
you
ought to make such a big, big
they're
deal.
Common law at this point,
I think
are they
they're
not?
common law married, and you ought to just treat them as such. And you know, I mean, it is a marriage, and I think that the law would solemnify that.
In a situation like that, you'd probably have more opportunity to love them in the Lord and share the Lord by keeping peace with them.
I mean, they have a family. They've got 4 kids. They live together, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a common law marriage.
Yeah. This is Richard, who says, God's word tells us in Jeremiah 1:5 that, quote, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. If this is true, why are babies born premature or with defects, or even worse, why does a woman miscarry? I don't understand why God doesn't allow everyone to be born healthy.
You have asked a question that I think theologians have wrestled with, and we don't know all the answers. I really don't. God does not necessarily interfere in all the mistakes human beings make. He doesn't interfere with all the genetic problems that they have. And what causes the genetic problems? Is it a question of diet? Is it a question of atmosphere, of, chemicals? Who knows what causes genetic malformations? But God doesn't intervene in all of that. But he says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Now, he's talking about Jeremiah. Remember that. He said, before I formed you, Jeremiah, in the womb, I knew you, and I ordained you to be a prophet to the nations. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. Tomorrow, you don't want to miss Kevin Lehman, who talks about the most important role in a child's life. We leave you with these words. My God will meet all your needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. 8 years ago, my husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.